Salutations, kindred souls. Thank you for being here. If you clicked on this, it means we're meant to connect. My name's Lux, and I love talking about wisdom, healing, and integration. And this is Morty. Say hi, Morty. And the little shark tail back there is Snowy. This is real life recording. Y'all is having a dog tail thump, thump, thump in the background. But we're going to get a little more real life, a little more hit record and see what happens and try to loosen up this channel a little bit. Yeah, so welcome to this authentic Lux Martin space. Today I want to talk about kind of a cornerstone piece of this new evolution of all that is Lux Martin Integration coaching, which is why self-awareness isn't enough. And if you can't tell, it's going to drive me nuts that my dogs are fighting right behind me in the background. And yet I'm not going to stop this video and re-record because that's real life, y'all. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Why self-awareness isn't enough, okay? And I saw me do this trap of when I first started becoming a young adult. And then I would say it compounded more when I got married and divorced. And then I would say it compounded more when, before that, during the pandemic, when I had to blow up my existence and ask, what is life and what am I doing here in it and what is the importance of that? Then came, marriage, finding my twin, going down a twin flame journey, all the things, all that is life, and diving headfirst into a spiritual healing journey. And what I came to understand is that self-awareness there's 100 different levels to self-awareness. From, I mean this with a lot of love, from the most ignorant of us walking around on planet Earth to those that are truly one with every cell of essence of being. There's all the levels in between, yeah? And by no means do I think I'm some guru, but I do find it not only fun and encouraging and meaningful to do this work called integration work and healing and wisdom and integration, all the things, but it gives you somewhere to go. It gives you a trajectory for all the ways you can expand and become more self-aware. And some people just aren't ready for that. And some people want to stay at, level butterfly. And some people want to stay or want to get to, one with every cell of the universe. You get to pick and choose. There is no one higher than the other, and there's no saying that butterflies are pretty is less than or less intelligent or less valuable than I understand every cell of the universe. Yeah, it's not a hierarchical type of thing. I believe we all came down here individually to figure it out as far as we want to figure it out. And Lux happens to want to figure it out pretty darn far, So what I want to talk about after 3 minutes of rambling and dogs and distractions, focus, is why just being self-aware isn't growth. It is not growth. Something that I came to understand is that as I started to take in a lot of information about things like attachment styles, relationship patterns, childhood wounds, things like that, even like family or relational traumas, generational traumas is what they would call it, or generational curses. I don't really believe in the word curse. But just because you're aware of them doesn't necessarily mean you're ready to do something about them. And so it's quite the process, actually, from understanding that those things are even there, learning about them, understanding how they affect your life, and then being willing to do something about them. And that's okay, because that requires a lot of bravery and responsibility. And some of them are pretty darn hard. I, by no means, am saying that I've had the most challenging life ever, and the most deepest, darkest traumas you can have. Nope, not by a long shot. There are others in the world that have had a much more difficult time than I have. And so I'm not going to act like I know it all or I've been through it all. But what I am going to say is that as you start to become aware of whatever your patterns are based on this life, this human carcass, this soul, this lineage, all the things that you want to dive into, you get to choose if you want to take on the responsibility of doing something with your newfound awareness. And I will say that the more self-aware you become, the more uncomfortable it is when you choose not to do something about it. And that's not to say that you are forced into growth or changing or evolution of anything. You get free will. You get to do whatever you want. But as a soul that chose integration, enlightenment, pursuit, healing, the more aware you become, the more uncomfortable it is to stay put, because you can't unlearn and you can't unsee what you learn and see. Once you're exposed to certain aspects of light like that, you can't go back to ignorance, for lack of a better word. And all I will say is that from personal experience, it's not really the nudge, it's not really the fuel that makes you go, but sometimes the discomfort is enough to go, all right, what are we going to do about this? And so what I want to talk about is how integration coaching or integration practices help self-awareness become something, because self-awareness without action is just intellectual understanding, which then can also lead to emotional stagnation. I've seen me do it. I've seen myself get very emotionally frustrated, feeling stuck. How many times do you say to people, I feel stuck, or I feel frustrated, or I feel blocked? That probably actually means that you're a really highly aware person. Maybe you're intuitive as hell, but you feel stuck. I used to say that all the time. I feel so stuck. I feel so held back. I feel so trapped. You know what I mean? So if that's a key phrase that you say or think in your life, maybe it's time to ask yourself if you're actually pretty darn aware of who you are and what you're made of and where you're going and what keeps happening in life. And you're starting to become aware that you're not doing anything with that information. And that's frustrating. That came for me, it came with my own level of shame and condemnation and judgment of myself that I had to get through, of like, well, now that you know this, look at all the damage you've done in your life. Look at all the time you've wasted, Lux. Like, what are we doing here? And so I will say that comes up quite prominently and quite early in your understanding of, okay, I'm ready to shift from awareness to change. I will say, I don't say you gotta a lot, but I will say today, you gotta give yourself some grace, compassion, and forgiveness for the anger and the judgment and the shame, the guilt, all the rage that comes up at yourself for feeling like you've wasted time, resources, relationships, aspects of self in your becoming self-aware and then feeling stuck, trapped, feeling unable to do something about it. Once you can get through that phase, it's all uphill from there. So this is where I try to tell you that integration is awareness plus responsibility plus practice or action. Even if that's practice action, even if it's messy action, even if it's 1% at a time action, integration is learning, responsibility, motion. Yeah? That's challenging. It's hard to put this threefold trifecta together, and a lot of people do not do it. And that is where I would like to help you if you would like that nudge, that extra push for how to make integration a part of your life. What I want to encourage you is that if you really feel like you're in this place, that hopefully that means that's why you connected to this video. Hopefully that means you were called here to hear this call to clarity of like, maybe you already do see a lot. Maybe you already do understand a lot. Maybe you're finally ready to do something about it. And that's scary as hell. It's challenging. And sometimes it can make you feel even more like a victim if you feel lost, if you feel stuck and you feel like, I don't know where to turn. So I want to finish this video with just a couple key concepts that have helped me start to budge loose from the self-awareness trap to true movement, integration, embodiment, true new identity shifts. Couple key phrases that I had to start really using and practicing. I don't care if they sound cringy at first. They're probably going to sound cringy and triggering. And if that's the case, good. That means you needed to hear it. Okay? Work with it. Sit with it. Let it simmer. Yeah? Let it simmer. One of the first phrases that irritated the crap out of me is stop collecting, start living. Stop collecting information, start living your life. And I was like, well, yeah, but I need to know how. I need more clarity. I need more wisdom. I need more advice. I need more step-by-step. I need more programs. Yes, do all of those things. If you feel passionate about a coaching program or a development program or a business program or a relationship program, counseling, all the things, If you truly feel called, great. If you're truly getting things out of it and you're growing and you feel yourself leveling up in the process, magnifique. If you feel like you're using them as a reason to not continue forward at the pace that you've been going, like if you feel it as a reason to start coasting, like, well, I need to spend a little more time in marketing, or I need to spend a little more time in, relational management or healing my inner child, like all the things. If you're using it as a reason to pump the brakes, that's, I don't like that phrase spiritual bypassing. It's very pointed, but what I am suggesting is that you may be using healing and integration and information collecting as a way to slow down, as a way to not have to put action to your knowledge, because it's scary. Yeah, I've seen me do it. It's scary when you start to learn that, well, maybe it's time to end a relationship because I'm letting myself stay in patterns that aren't healthy for me and I know it, or I'm not holding up boundaries that I know I should and I know it. It's scary and it's sad. It's, you go through grieving things, you lose things, that sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks sometimes, but the frustration of staying there also sucks, and so eventually it will suck more than the grief or the loss or the sheddings that you have to go through to step into new lifestyles, new belief systems, new relationships, all the things. Another key practice, another key phrase that has really helped me, really helped me, especially in getting out of victim mindset. And I can tell you this, I can say this with complete confidence and freedom, that I am not a victim of anything. And that feels really good to say. And that's probably really triggering and activating to somebody right now. But I will say that there's a process to get there. And it's fan-freaking-tastic. It's challenging, but it's great. So the phrase that really helped me leave victim mentality, or slowly dismantle where that belief system was infecting other belief systems or thought process of my life, because you can start to separate those things a box at a time, is the phrase of, there is no such thing as being stuck. There is no such thing as being blocked, trapped. There's no such thing as a glass ceiling. That was a hard one for me to wrap my head around. Thank you, Laura Mazzata, for being the one that whacked me in the face with that one a few years ago. But it has truly changed my life. When you can truly start to embody the concept of there is no such thing as stuck, what that means is that you believe in the belief system that some form of energy needs to move. I feel stuck energy. Everything is energy. And so rather than saying, I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I'm a victim of this situation, the new belief system to put in place of that is somewhere in my life, energy needs motion. And what I will say is that sometimes you can't really look the thing head on and make it move. It'd be like, trying to take a room-sized boulder and push it and make that energy move. We all know it just don't work that way. So in your diverting your energy, or like shifting your perspective and your focus to moving energy elsewhere, whether that's as simple as your body, like going for a walk, having an empowering or like relieving conversation with someone you trust, is moving energy. And so in your moving of energy, even in a lateral type of fashion, you are making progress. That's another kind of key tangent phrase that my counselor, someone very wise, once told me, is that motion, even laterally, is better than staying still. Because in your lateral motion, you are moving energy. And in your moving energy, you are proving to yourself that there is no such thing as stuck. Yeah? So that's a challenging one. And that one's one I'm still peeling back and peeling, like plucking the last little roots out of certain aspects of my life where stuck is a thing I feel sometimes. But as you go to do integration work, and this is where we circle all the way back to the beginning of this episode, which is why self-awareness isn't enough, which is when you truly believe those things, you have to start practicing them, even if it's a step at a time. So even if it's something as simple, I'll give you a real life example of, okay, I don't believe in stuck anymore. I feel really stuck in this career situation in my life. I feel really stuck, like I just can't get my breakthrough. I can't get momentum. What am I going to do about it? Because I don't believe in stuck. So that just must mean that I need to divert my energy somewhere else to create movement. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk. While I'm on my walk, I'm going to have a phone call with a friend, or I'm going to listen to my favorite podcast. And then in that podcast was like an aha word of, oh, well, you could be working on this right now. Or, oh, here's a back end kind of thing you could be working on to make your life easier 6 months from now. Those little things, it's as simple as rather than focusing on the boulder in front of you, you dig a new rabbit hole somewhere else, you divert your energy and your focus and your attention somewhere else, you created lateral motion, which is still progress because now you've moved laterally far enough to get around the boulder. Yeah? So that was a really key phrase that helped me grow and move towards more than self-awareness. And this is the last piece I want to touch base with you on. So we had stop collecting, start living. There is no such thing as stuck. And then finally, what is one thing today you can do to make a 1% progress forward into real integration, real change, the new you? One step. Sometimes that's all you have, that's all you can muster. Sometimes life is super challenging, you're feeling super stretched, your nervous system is struggling to break this new threshold of taking all of this self-awareness and putting it into a new version of you, a new identity, a new embodiment. It's really stretchy, can be really challenging. It's a lot of responsibility. That is where I wish you would let me coach you, help you, support you. Because those are the moments where I wish I had more support. Not saying I had zero support, but I wish I had more of that very particular type of support that understands that, no, this is the threshold you're at. You mustn't stop. You must continue. And you will break through. And so that is what I'm super passionate about, is helping someone break through those thresholds from self-awareness into identity shifts, into new levels, new upgrades of who you are to get anything and everything you want in life. And so back to this last point of make a 1% change, make a 0.5% change. If it's nothing more than, I'm going to decide to have that extra glass of water today. I'm going to decide to hold my tongue and not have that conversation with this loved one today because I know I'm not in a space to have the best version of it. Or it's time to hold this boundary, even if I have to do it silently, even if I have to do it with just a few words, even if it's tense, even if it's, challenging. I'm going to show myself that I am worth the integration. Yeah, and so self-value is a key aspect of turning self-awareness into integration and identity changes. Is with all this awareness comes the responsibility to take on the amount of self-love, self-honor, self-sovereignty that it would require to do something with all this self-awareness. Yeah, that's really challenging. It requires a lot of bravery. And if you're listening to this, I'm sure it means that you either already have it or you want to get there. Yeah, so have the bravery to make a 1% shift in your day that shows no one else other than you that you are worth becoming this new thing that you want to be due to the self-awareness you have. Yeah. Remember, it's integration is awareness plus responsibility plus action and practice. And sometimes that practice is called practice because you might not get it right, or you might make a 1% shift where you wished it was a 10% shift. Things like that. But 1% is better than stagnation, is better than just sitting here in your awareness, knowing that you've not done anything about it. Yeah? So I hope this wasn't too muddy, messy of an episode. It was real life. It was authentic Lux. But I'm hoping that you understood that this key portion of who I am, what I do in Lux Martin Integration Coaching, is helping you understand that if you're a really aware person, whether that's spiritually, humanoid-wise, socially, you're an intelligent person, yeah? You're intelligent and aware, and you're feeling frustrated because you have a lot of insight and awareness, maybe even understanding, but nothing's changing. You don't feel better. You don't have the life you want. You aren't the version of you want. Let's bridge that gap. Let's put a little push behind it to get to this new level of you, this new identity, this new belief system, this new relationship, this new all the things you want in life, to love who you are because you've taken all of this self-awareness and put it to good use, put it to new use, and created a life you desire. Yeah? So I hope that was encouraging, informing, slightly triggering, and I hope you'll be back to be triggered and intrigued some more. Have a fantastical day.